What is up, YouTube? Hope everybody out there is doing well. Back again for collection update kind of thing. Been a while since the last one already. One of these days I will try to start uploading more stuff more often, but still just been busy with life and general other stuff. So yeah, I have a kind of a massive stack of stuff again. So in the interest of not having another hour-long video, which is kind of ridiculous, I split it up in half, sort of. This first one is going to be mostly metal and related, hard rock, stuff like that. Stuff that would appeal to, I know, a lot of people that watch my channel are metalheads, so stick on that side of things for the first part, and then the other second part is just going to be other stuff that's not necessarily in the hard rock and metal realm. So yeah, without further ado, just go alphabetical with these. First one, Afterbirth, In But Not Of. Came out last year on Willow Tip, I believe. This is really fucking cool. I was a little bit skeptical to check this out at first because I'm not big into brutal death metal. Just not really my thing. And but I saw a lot of people talking about this. I remember Melanie Loves Death Metal mentioned it. The Radical Research guys were talking about it. A couple other people as well. And I figured, what the hell? I was checking out a lot of new stuff last year too. And it's a short album too, 30 something minutes, I want to say 35, 37, somewhere in there. So I thought, what the hell, I'll throw it on. And man, this blew my mind from the first listen. It's got some brutal death metal elements. The vocals are that really kind of squealy, like deep, brutal death metal typical style. But that's where most of those elements stop. There are some riffs here and there that are in that style, but there's a lot of other stuff going on. There's everything from traditional heavy metal, thrash. There's a lot of prog on here. Cool, clean, atmospheric, psychedelic sections that they throw in randomly, but it just all works so well. Amazing songwriting, just fantastic album. Definitely was in my top 10 or maybe even top 5 of last year. Check that out, even if you're not into the more brutal kind of stuff. It's awesome. Right, next up, Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare. This is his first solo album after he left the Alice Cooper group, 1975, I think this is. Killer album. I remember hearing, I think it was the Black Widow song years ago, probably about a decade ago now, and going, man, this is pretty awesome, pretty heavy. I mean, at that point, I had never heard anything from Alice Cooper besides, School's Out and No More Mr. Nice Guy. But man, this album rules. It's not super heavy all the way through, but it's just really great. And while I'm on this topic, actually, I'm gonna pull out, honestly, I've only picked up one record recently. I've been more into CDs, just cost and being able to store them more easily and a few other reasons, but I don't know. I still like vinyl, but I don't know, just been gravitating more towards CDs. But here's the one record I've bought recently, Ursa Major, their self-titled album. I forget when this came out exactly. I want to say 1974, 75, somewhere around there. This features Dick Wagner on guitar, who played on this album. So, man, this is just really cool American kind of hard rock album from the mid 70s. A lot of diversity on this, like you got with a lot of 70s bands. There's really heavy stuff on here. There's some prog. There's some poppier stuff. There's a couple ballads. You get a bit of everything, but really solid stuff all the way through, and definitely worth checking out if you're into 70s hard rock. Okay, next up, Bathory, Blood, Fire, Death. Maybe my favorite Bathory album. Hard to say. I mean, all the early stuff is great. The Viking stuff is awesome too. But this one is kind of the perfect blend of both of those styles, the early black metal and the Viking kind of stuff, the epic, slower stuff. Man, just an almost perfect album. Unfortunately, I bought this off eBay, and I'm pretty sure it's a bootleg, but I don't know. At least it was only 16 or 17 bucks. Still kind of annoyed, but still glad to have it. Great album. Speaking of bootlegs, here's an unpopular opinion. Celtic Frost, Cold Lake. I actually like this album quite a bit. I like every Celtic Frost album, to be honest. They're one of my favorite bands, if you can't tell. But man, this always gets called a glam metal album. It's, I don't know. I guess the lyrics are pretty terrible, to be honest. And then of course you get, sorry, my camera quality is not the greatest, but you can just like, what the hell is going on here? I mean, and the hair, yeah, they had a pretty weird image at this time, but as far as the actual music goes, the vocals when Tom is kind of trying to sing don't work that well, but the riffing is still that weird Celtic Frost unique riffing style that Tom has, and still pretty heavy. Like, this is way heavier than any glam album that I've ever heard. This is definitely underrated in my opinion. Again, this is another bootleg. I'm not gonna pay $60 to to own this. So hopefully they reissue it someday. Not holding my breath, but for now, this will do. Again, $16 or whatever. Okay, next up, probably my favorite band from Mexico of all time. I know they're based out of Chicago, I think now, but The Chasm. We got Death Cult for Eternity, The Triumph. Sorry about the glare. Procession to the Infraworld, and The Spell of Retribution. I want to say these are about 1998, 2000. This one says 2000, and then I think this is 2004 or 05, somewhere around there. Yeah, just an awesome metal band. They get lumped into death metal, kind of progressive death metal. The vocals are basically death metal vocals, but man, these guys just throw some of everything into the mixture. You get a ton of thrash, you get a lot of traditional heavy metal kind of galloping riffs, really cool leads all over the place, interesting song structures, but they always keep it heavy and just kind of, I don't know, they have an interesting kind of feeling to their music. There's always a dark, kind of occult sort of, I don't know what word to use for it. Almost like, not spacey, but I don't know. You can kind of tell from the album covers, like, I don't know, just weird cosmic kind of otherworldly feeling to all of it. But such a consistent band. The first two albums are pretty raw, a little bit slower, more on the Death Doom side. This one is still pretty raw production wise. This is where they really bumped up the production quality. But man, every album is really solid. These are three of my favorite ones as well, but hard to choose. Amazing band. If you're into any kind of extreme metal and you somehow haven't checked those guys out, definitely do that as soon as possible. All right, next up, a classic, undeniable classic, Dismember, Like an Ever-Flowing Stream, Swedish death metal. 91, I think this came out. Glad these got reissued finally, the Dismember catalog. Man, this is just one of the best death metal albums ever made. It's a perfect blend of brutality and melody, without going into fully melodic death metal territory. Man, just every song on here is pretty much perfect. Like, I don't know what to say about this that hasn't already been said. If you're into extreme metal and you haven't heard this, just stop watching this video and go listen to this. It's amazing. All right, going back to the 70s. This is kind of borderline. I did decide to throw it in this pile, but Eloy, Inside. This is a German band from the 70s, prog rock, kind of space rock stuff, but pretty heavy. There's a lot of distorted guitars and stuff on here, some pretty heavy riffing. Man, I love this band. They started out as basically a straight up hard rock band. This is their second album, I want to say 1973. And the first album is not great. This is where they really found their sound. The first song on here is 17 minutes long. They do that kind of krautrock sort of thing where they lock into a repetitive groove and just kind of hypnotizes you almost. But man, this only 4 songs on here, but they're all great. If you're into like the heavier side of 70s prog, definitely check these guys out. They got a little more kind of synth driven throughout as they progressed throughout the 70s. But all their albums, from this one up to, I want to say Time to Turn, I think it was called, in 81 maybe. All fantastic albums. Definitely check these guys out if you're into 70s prog or 70s hard rock. Alright, next up, one I haven't heard yet. A bunch of these albums are ones that I just grabbed on Discogs because I wanted one or two CDs, and then the seller had a whole bunch of really cheap stuff that, this was like $2 or $3, so I'm not gonna not buy it. Faith No More, album of the year. Yeah, I haven't heard this one yet. I've heard The Real Thing, Angel Dust, and King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime. Those are all great albums. So yeah, I'm expecting good stuff from this. Definitely gonna spin that soon. Great band. Okay, back to the 70s. Golden Earring, Moontan. These guys are from the Netherlands, I want to say. This came out in '73, I think. And this is some more like kind of proggy hard rock stuff. Um, Really cool band. They had a run of really great albums from uh, the late '60s up to even the early '80s. Um, I don't know, just a band that no one really talks about that much. They had a bit of a hit with this album with Radar Love, probably their biggest song. But man, this is just a great, yeah, great kind of proggy hard rock album. Um, Definitely worth your time if you are into '70s hard rock or prog. And sticking in the '70s, the Groundhogs split '71. Uh, Man, I love the Groundhogs. uh, I'm not a huge fan of typical like blues rock per se. It kind of gets a little boring to me if they're just using the same blues chords and structures. But these guys get classified as blues rock, but man, they take blues rock to its logical conclusion, sort of. I don't think you could take blues rock much further than this without just leaving it completely behind. There's a lot of, I mean, this is heavy stuff for the time, um, and a lot of like psychedelic elements as well. Man, Tony McPhee on guitar is such a great player. Yeah, this is a cool reissue. Came out in 2020, Fire Records. It's got a whole bunch of bonus tracks, basically a full live set, and or no, my bad, got mixed up. Just a bunch of different versions of the songs on here, I guess. But yeah, this is a super cool album. If you're into '70s hard rock, check it out, as well as their album before that. It's called Thank Christ for the Bomb. That might be my favorite, but they're both killer. All right, switching gears a bit here. Going to Greece, Hail Spirit Noir with Numa, their debut from 2012, I think. This band was on my radar for years, probably since about 2016, 2015, even maybe. Back when I started watching music channels on YouTube a whole bunch, one of the first guys I started watching a lot of stuff from was Cover Killer Nation. Great channel. He stopped doing videos a while ago, but I think all his stuff is still on there. Super, super entertaining channel to watch. If you haven't seen his stuff, check it out. But I remember him talking about these guys a whole bunch, and Jeff and Hunter at Radical Research did an episode not too long ago on them as well, and just from that, so yeah, they were on my radar for a long time, but one of those bands that I just meant to check out and never got around to, but the Radical Research episode definitely made me want to check these guys out, so I just went and ordered this. Man, this is sort of black metal, but it's really weird, avant-garde, jazzy, psychedelic, progressive, but not really in the same vein as, say, Enslaved or something like that. They have kind of moved a little more in that direction on more recent albums. This one is really weird. They actually just had a new album come out last Friday, which is great as well. But yeah, if you're into weird black metal, yeah, great band. Okay, another one I haven't actually listened to yet. High on Fire with De Vermis Mysteriis. think this is 2012. Yeah, I mean, I haven't listened to a ton of High on Fire, to be honest. I do really like them, though. They're just another one of those bands where, I mean, there's so much music and not enough time to listen to it all, but I've heard enough from them to definitely want to pick this up. I think I've heard about 3 of their albums. The most recent one from this year, Cometh the Storm, is fantastic. One of my top 3 albums of the year probably so far. Amazing album. This one I have heard a couple songs off of, but haven't listened to the whole thing yet. I'm expecting good things because these guys, everything I've heard, I've really enjoyed. Okay, another death metal classic, Incantation, Mortal Throne of Nazarene. Man, this is just, I don't know, one of the heaviest bands out there. Just so pummeling, and I don't know. It's hard to even describe this in words. It's just, it sounds like you're being dragged into hell, basically. But I don't know. There's something about this that I can't listen to this stuff all the time, but when I'm in the mood for something like this, there's nothing else that scratches that itch. I mean, John McEntee, I don't know, his riffs are just so unique, kind of, in a way. Not so much anymore, because there's a lot of bands that have copied these guys' style in the last 20 years or so, but man, when this came out, these first few albums, nobody was doing stuff this crazy, and I don't know, it's just so heavy and awesome and unique. Great album. Okay, next up, 2 from Jethro Tull. Maybe borderline hard rock, but I figured I'd put them in this stack anyway. Got Living in the Past and War Child. This one is a compilation from 1972. It's insane that they had a double album worth of extra material that they didn't put on albums after they had only been a band for 4 or 5 years. Just crazy. Love a lot of the stuff on here. I mean, Love Story is killer. Living in the Past, amazing. Driving Song, Sweet Dream, Witch's Promise, just so much awesome stuff on here. You had a few songs that appeared on albums, but most of this is other extra stuff. Super cool. And then War Child, not one of my favorite albums of theirs. It's kind of not quite as good as the albums it's surrounded by for me, but still a great album. A little bit inconsistent. I don't love every song on it, but this is a reissue from the early 2000s with some bonus tracks on it as well, and some of the bonus tracks that got left off of this are better than about half of the album to me. So with those, there's a ton of great stuff on here. So yeah, I don't know, one of my favorite bands. Love them. Okay, next up, going way back to the roots of hard rock and metal, Jimi Hendrix, Electric Ladyland, and the BBC Sessions. So this is the third and final Jimi Hendrix Experience album, double album, just legendary, man. If you somehow haven't heard this, again, just what are you doing? This is a cool reissue that has a DVD and stuff like that too. I haven't watched that yet, but just a fantastic, amazing psychedelic hard rock album. Um, and this is just this is another one where I think it's two CDs and a DVD. Really nice uh, package. I haven't watched the DVD yet, but listened to both of the CDs, and yeah, just great live stuff. Jimi Hendrix was one of those guys that's uh, notorious for basically never playing the same song the same way twice. So the live stuff is super cool. All right, try to speed this up a little bit here. Rambling too much. Okay, Kiss, Destroyer. I mean, if you're into hard rock, you have to at least listen to this stuff. I know a lot of people don't love Kiss. Um, I don't know if I quite love them either, but man, you can't go wrong with these first 4 or 5 albums. I mean, even this is worth having just for Detroit Rock City and God of Thunder. I mean, so cool. Love the album cover, just iconic. Yeah, I love that some of those early Kiss songs. They never had a perfect album to me, but every album from those early days has some fantastic songs. Okay, next up, two from the Mars Volta, Deloused in the Comatorium from, I want to say 2000, 2001, somewhere around there, and The Bedlam in Goliath, say 05, I can't remember. Anyway, these guys are, I don't know, super cool, super unique band. Hard to describe. Hard rock, prog, some Latin influences almost, a lot of psychedelia stuff. There's also like, I don't know, almost a kind of math rock quality to some of it, super like weird rhythms and stuff like that. The vocalist has a really crazy high pitched histrionic kind of style that took me a bit to get used to, but once I warmed up to him, man, I love these guys' first few albums. The debut and Francis the Mute are probably my favorite ones, but the next couple, including this, are still awesome. Yeah, if you're into just weird, manic, crazy, intense rock, check those guys out. Okay, Neil Young, Freedom. Another one that I was trying to decide whether or not to include in this stack, but this is a pretty heavy album. I mean, Rockin' in the Free World, man, that's just great song, that chugging riff. Yeah, there's some other pretty hard rock stuff on here too. I love Neil Young. Just his the way he just I don't know, lets his emotion flow through his music. I mean, a lot of the stuff he has done is just like the first take, and whatever happens, and that's what goes on the album. I love his guitar playing style, just like crazy, like, I don't know. Yeah, just hugely influential. Such a great songwriter. This is one of his heavier albums, late 80s, 89 I want to say, which is kind of when he came back a little bit he went off and did weird stuff in the 80s and then came back in the late 80s and early 90s with a lot of great albums again. So, yeah, cool one. All right, Nectar, Remember the Future. Another one that's kind of maybe not quite hard rock, but there's some pretty heavy moments on here. This is prog rock, classic 70s band. This is kind of in the vein of Jethro Tull's Thick as a Brick, where it's one song basically split up into two parts because it was on an LP back in the day. Um, just a fantastic album. This is almost a perfect record, in my opinion. Yeah, part one, 16 minutes, part two, 19 minutes. You get everything on here from prog to psychedelic rock to funk almost in spots, some super catchy pop almost stuff, hard rock in places. Just just amazing. Great songwriting. Killer band. Okay, Nine Inch Nails, The Downward Spiral. I haven't listened to this either. I've actually never heard an album by Nine Inch Nails, but my uh, one buddy found this in the local swap shed and gave it to me. So super happy to have this. I've heard a lot of good stuff about it over the years, and I will definitely be spinning that one soon as well. Okay, back to the 70s. Pink Fairies, the Polydor years. This is their first three albums. These guys were like kind of a proto-punk, proto-metal, kind of psychedelic hard rock band. I haven't listened to them a ton, to be honest. I've only heard these albums once each, but I like them, and this set was, I think it's a 3 CD set. Yeah, it is. And it was like super cheap. It was like $10 or something. So yeah, definitely cool stuff. I will have to listen to those again soon. Another one I got for cheap, Pink Floyd, The Wall. I mean, what do you say about this? Their double concept album. The last maybe truly great Pink Floyd album. They have some good stuff after this too, but... And this isn't my favorite Pink Floyd album either, but it's still fantastic. I mean, I don't really need to say a whole lot about that. I don't think. Probably don't need to say a whole lot about this either. Queensryche, the first EP. 4 songs, all amazing. Jeff Tate's vocals are just insane. The band is just killing it. from the get-go. I want to say this is from 83, I think. This is a cool reissue with basically a full live set from Tokyo, Japan, another 10 tracks after the original EP. So, yeah, glad to have that. Again, that was another one that I got for $2 or $3. So, happy to have it. St. Vitus V or 5. Forget when this came out, late 80s I want to say, or maybe 1990. Their last album for a bit with Wino on vocals. Not my favorite St. Vitus album, but still really great. I just love these guys' style. Just the super primitive, heavy riffing, the guitar solos. I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name for some reason, but his guitar solos are just so... It's insane. It sounds like he's having a mental breakdown and somehow playing a guitar solo at the same time. Just crazy. Super, super cool band. I love their first run of albums up to this one. Just killer stuff. Okay, it's a bit of a weird one. Same buddy that grabbed me the Nine Inch Nails found this in the swap shed. Scott Stapp, The Great Divide. Best known for being the singer of Creed, which I don't know. I've only heard like 2 or 3 Creed songs, but there's a bit of a running joke between us, the whole like arms wide open thing. I don't know. So he got this for me as a joke, sort of. I did put it on the other day actually, and it's not great. The first song, Reach Out, has some cool riffs and stuff. I would say that's the best song on the album. If you know Creed, you kind of know what you're getting here. I don't think I'll probably ever listen to this again, but I was curious, so I did give it a listen. And one interesting thing here, man, there's some great photos in the booklet and stuff, but this is maybe the pièce de résistance. And notice the strategic placement of the center button there. Yeah, that's Scott's ass right there that you have to put your finger in to release the CD. Not sure if that was intentional. Yeah, just kind of interesting. Anyway, let's move on to better things. Stargazer from Australia with Emerging to the Boundless and Psychic Secretions. Man, these guys just rip. Blackened death metal, sort of, but not in the modern sense. They don't sound like Behemoth or something like that. It's like kind of an old. It's like they sound straight out of the late 80s almost. Even the production as well, but they're really technical. Yeah, the production is perfect for this style. Like, I'm not a huge technical death metal fan in the modern sense. A lot of that stuff is way too polished and clinical sounding for me. These guys, they're still really technical, but I think the main thing is the production for me. The production is just raw enough that you don't lose any of that grit and intensity. But yeah, this is crazy stuff. It's psychedelic. It's kind of proggy. It's really technical, but they still keep it completely coherent in the songwriting department. Great mix of just thrash and death and black metal and prog. Man, every one of their albums is fantastic. This is their most recent one from 2021, I think. But you can't go wrong with any of their albums. Love it. Great band. Okay, somehow I never owned any System of a Down until now, even though they're one of my favorite bands still to this day. I don't really listen to them a whole lot anymore because in high school I listened to them like too much. Got burnt out, but still just great. Yeah, I mean, one of the first metal bands I got into. This is their second to last album, Mesmerize. Fantastic stuff on here. BYOB. I mean, every song on here is pretty great. A lot of people aren't huge fans of this band. I get it. They're sort of a little bit in that new metal style, but I don't know. They're so much more diverse and interesting than basically anyone else in that scene for me. Tons of different elements in here. There's everything from pop to like thrash and crazy avant-garde stuff, and I don't know, just a really cool band. Yeah, I'll always like them. Not making any apologies. Okay, almost done here, but The Tea Party, their first three albums, Splendor Solace, The Edges of Twilight, and Transmission. These guys are a Canadian band from Ontario, started out in the early 90s. I would say this album is probably my favorite one. They started out as kind of just a hard rock band with some kind of proggy and folky stuff. It's like a mix of Led Zeppelin and The Doors or something, but also a little bit of grunge in there too. I don't know, just a cool band that don't really sound like anyone else. They have a lot of kind of Middle Eastern kind of influences as well. yeah, just really cool stuff. This one they started going a little more electronic and industrial, but still a good album. Yeah, solid, good band if you're into 90s hard rock kind of stuff. And lastly, Whitesnake, 1987 self-titled album. Another one I haven't heard. I've never heard a Whitesnake album, but I mean, I've heard so many people talk about this over the years, and again, it was like $2 or $3, and it was still in the shrink wrap. So I had to buy it. Um, yeah, I'm not really a glam metal fan per se, but I don't know. I figured it was worth checking out. Yeah, so I'll be spinning that one again, or spinning that soon. All right, that does it for the hard rock and metal section of this. So, yeah, thanks for watching. If you feel like checking out the other stuff I've got, feel free. If not, no worries. Yeah, see you guys soon. Bye.